So I didn't join the military to become like a construction worker in the military. So that was really one of the underlying issues that started, I think, my downfall was I had like an insecurity from it. Like my identity had been ripped from me. Like what I had planned, what I'd worked for. I mean, my injury was something that had um, I could work past, but not in the eyes of medical. It's like getting robbed of your manhood in a sense because getting taken out of that was really the start of my whole problem.
Welcome to Saving 22 podcast. My name is Gary Ott. I am the director of Saving 22, a feature-length documentary that talks about and delves into what we veterans go through once we get out of the service. And sometimes it's pretty dark. 22 referring to 22 veterans take their lives each day. But even though we do talk about the deep, dark, and depressive, it's all about hope. And that's what this podcast is about. It's all about hope. Because even though what we veterans go through is pretty difficult, but it's doable, right? And we the only way we can do it is really keeping in touch with each other. Veterans helping veterans, getting us through. But there are some amazing civilians out there doing great work, with their own nonprofits. I remember when I was getting out and when I was ETSing, I remember thinking, I was looking side to side, straight ahead, and it was clear, sunny skies, clear beach. That was mine, right? There's a beach and and then the ocean, because like the opportunities are endless. And it's like, man, it is unfair. The training I went through and everything that I experienced, I felt it was such an unfair advantage that, of course, it's a given that I'm going to be successful. But nobody told me about the tidal wave that was behind me as it was growing, and then it consumed me and it tumbled me. I was tumbling for a long time until finally I was able to start doing something for others and start talking to other veterans. And that's really where it comes from. What this podcast is also about is allowing veterans to reach out and talk to veterans. And it also allows we veterans a voice, because the civilians, the loved ones around us, to really understand what we're going through. Because it's not that we don't want to talk. I mean, in a lot of instances, yes, we don't want to talk. But it's how do you describe? It's impossible to describe what we went through. And so we just don't. And we, in the matter of embracing the suck, trying to figure out, okay, this is where I'm at. I don't like this. I don't want this. And so how do I get through this? We all have to come to grips with who we are, who we were, and who we're going to be. And that is what Saving 22, the documentary, is all about. That's what this podcast is all about. It's the compass. It brings us back. And it allows us to, oh, shoot, that's where I'm at. That's where I was at. That's where he's at, where she's at. I can go over and I can make sure that they're safe. Be okay, be a buddy, and welcome in, because it is not fun. In the making of a documentary, you get as many interviews as you possibly can get from all the different angles. And sometimes interviews just aren't used. It's nothing against the person. It's just the supporting, with the storyline, right? And in this instance, I'm actually grateful, because Kyle Ramon, his story is it's so on point with so many veterans. They get hurt, then they get pain pills, and then all of a sudden addictions get into legal problems. And what I love about Kyle's story is that, yes, he went through it, but he got through it. This is Kyle's story.
Well, I started joined the military in 2009. Came out of college and wasn't doing very great academically at that point, so I decided to follow like the path of like the rest of my family. Every male in my family has been in the military, so my dad, I wanted to go to the Marine Corps. My dad's friend was the recruiter at the town nearest me, and they wouldn't let me go to the Marine Corps. My dad said, absolutely not. He goes, if you want to go anywhere, you need to go to the Air Force. And I said, you should be in the Air Force. You should have been the airman. I'm a Marine. And he said, you could be a Marine, but he goes, I want you to do something you can have transfer on the outside when you get out. So we settled with, I wanted to be a badass, so we settled with TAC P. And I went to the Air Force recruiter and passed the pass test, and then went into the military to become a TAC P. And at that point, uh, shipped off to basic training, and then went to tech school and uh, got to go through TAC P and see what being a special force is all about. After a couple injuries, I got to get reclassed into a new job. While we're waiting for that, I found out that I was in an AFI flight, waiting for their instruction flight, and we were at the marina, at the boat marina in Florida, at Hurlburt Field, Special Operations Command for Air Force. And we were all standing around, nobody was doing anything, so I just saw some buckets and a hose, so I started cleaning the boat. So the guy who was in charge came and looked at like everybody standing there and was like, who cleaned this boat? And I'm like, I did. He goes, good, you get to drive boats tomorrow. These guys can go do all the other stuff since they didn't want to work today. And that guy took me out to Eglin Air Force Base, and he wanted to build a skeet range there for, I guess, just for fun, for sport. And me and him talking, had heard I had some construction experience, so I laid some block. I helped build the Eglin Air Force Base skeet range. And him and a commander, retired F-16 pilot, told me that I can't get you into like aerial gunner, but he's like, I can vouch for you on structural engineering. And I was like, absolutely, let's go. So I got reclassed and got to go to Gulfport. And at that point, that's when I became a structural engineer. And then my first duty station after that was Malmstrom in Montana.
Sorry. What was military? What was military life like for you?
So I was a single airman, so dorm life. It was pretty hectic, to be honest. And I found that if you came to that base and that shop and you were single, you didn't have the luxury of having my wife's friends with the boss's wife. So we, as the single airman, we got it a little bit harder. And yeah, we had just gotten told that there's no girls allowed in the dorms because there was a couple issues prior to me getting there. So it was kind of rough. It felt like I was in high school again. But
so what's amazing about the military is that as an 18, 19, 20, whatever, 20-year-old person, you get to see phenomenal stuff day in, day out that you would miss out on if you didn't join. What are some of your fond memories of doing? What are some of your fond memories?
The guys were great. Like who I served with, really, it was just a blast. We got a lot of cool training. I mean, from everything from, like advanced driving out by the perimeter road and doing all the trains we got to go to. We got to go down to Tyndall. I think about a lot about TAC P, because that was some of the fun stuff where you got to do more combat of the job, versus the day in, day out, like, the needed work, basically. So I didn't join the military to become like a construction worker in the military. So that was really one of the underlying issues that started, I think, my downfall. Was I had like an insecurity from it. Like my identity had been ripped from me. Like what I had planned, what I'd worked for. I mean, my injury was something that had I could work past, but not in the eyes of medical. So getting taken out of that was really the start of my whole problem.
Where does the mind go? What happens? I mean, what's your disconnect? I mean, what happens when something like that's taken away from you and you feel like that you don't have anything?
It's like getting robbed of your manhood in a sense, because say if I was never like an academically like disciplined student, and my dad can attest to that, but I was a hard worker, outworked everybody, went from being a pretty big guy to a pretty fit guy. And I mean, this was before CrossFit was like the main thing, at least until I got in the military. CrossFit wasn't a word you really heard, but I had ride my bike out 26 miles. I'd spend 8 hours at the gym, and I'd go swim 5 miles. I would run 4 more miles, and I'd wake up and do it again. And I did P90X 3 times in a row before I went in, and I blew the pass test out the water. So when you have that kind of ambition, you want to do something like that. Like I remember watching Generation Kill every night before I went to bed for straight 6 months. My dad said that was the most realistic. He was a Marine, and he was in Desert Storm, and first boots on the ground too. So he said that's the most realistic to military life. And I always wondered like why all the men in my family were the way they were. And you don't know this until you go in and then you have that experience. And it really is. It's like the camaraderie from the menu and the women that you serve with, to the embracing the suck factor. Like my dad always said, you don't know what it's like to get screwed until you've been screwed by Uncle Sam, and that you can really, you know, that I don't know, that rings pretty true for me. Like having that much responsibility, that much weight on your head, and then you put this extra on you yourself, try to hold yourself to this perfect standard, and it's just a lot to deal with. And I think it leads to a lot of underlying mental issues that a lot of guys have, whether or not they've seen combat or they, you know, did a combat job versus a regular day-to-day job.
Talk about talk about the pride that you have, you know, because like so now all of a sudden you have a responsibility. What are you, like 19 years old, and now you're responsible for some things?
Yep.
What was your responsibility?
My responsibility at first was I was in the carpenter shop. That was my first assignment, and doing that, we all kind of noticed that we were on a race to get airmen below the zone. So I had my biggest thing was I wanted to leave a good impression with my name. So I immediately grabbed the person who just won airmen below the zone. His name was Airman Reyes. Really shit hot guy. Learned like 2 languages in the 6 months I had got to like be under him. So I immediately started going to school. I immediately started coaching a softball team. Got voted the all-star coach. Took that team to the state championship. And I was just trying to make a name for myself here in the community, playing sports and going to school, coaching sports, and then making sure I handled all the jobs with integrity and with to the best of my ability. And something with doing construction here now, it was much different than like how you do in the civilian world, where you can mess up like in the military because we have enough material and things you can redo it. So I guess I had to kind of get past that little obstacle in my own head that like if you gave me something I've never done before, I didn't want to try before the military. I wanted to try something that wasn't easy. It didn't come easy. Working hard and getting physically fit was easy. You just keep going until it sucked, and then you keep going. But when you do something that maybe doesn't come as easy to you with like, you know, reading these directions and then building something that you have to build, that's your assignment today. And I don't know, even as much as putting like hanging a TV on the wall and just being willing to like, hey, you got to do this, try. And that, I don't know, that was my first like lesson that the military taught me, besides time management, was you have to try. If it's uncomfortable or not, you have to keep trying. And once I got past that little wall, like I'm like willing to try, everything started just coming together. So
What is okay? So some of the training that so you're talking about the advanced driving. What's advanced driving?
It's a training day, like every couple, 90 days or so, we'd have like an exercise where we do some type of unit training and get together and just stay combat ready. The advanced driving was like taking Humvees and going through, trying to roll them, really. And then they had this unique like handle where you pull it, and then the back wheels were like train track wheels that turned sideways, and you'd have to try to spin out. And you tried to do this on like uneven ground, and it's just basically preparing yourself in case you were driving in combat or find yourself in a situation where it's not comfortable. So,
were you driving or were you?
I was always driving. I'm always the driver. And when I'm not the driver, things go bad usually for me.
What was your favorite part?
I think it was calling my dad at the end of the day to go over what I just did that day. Like Sergeant Taylor from Black Rifle Coffee Company was an instructor there at the time, and he was so charismatic you knew he was gonna be famous. Like and he did it. Like Hawk 80 was the class that I started with, but yeah, I just didn't get through on that one. But yeah, watching those guys come back and when hearing all like the stories, like when you go to feel FTX and all that stuff, and then you like as you live the parts that like you were worried about, it's just crazy like how hard it was. Like I mean, every day was the point of muscle failure. 15 times before 6 a.m, you already had done more than most humans had done in 2 days or a week. So I guess the pride, like being able to, it's hard to impress somebody that's been in the military, it's been around the world and see something. So I was always trying to live up to my dad's, who he doesn't really hold that kind of an expectation. His is work hard, be honest, and be a productive member of society basically is all he requires. So it's very easy, but I had put a lot on myself to live up to this, this persona that he had his persona that he had basically put out.
How supportive were were your buddies, your battle buddy, your buddies, and how supportive were you to them?
Oh, I mean, that's brothers forever. I've since the military, I've gone and lived with two of them and worked with them, and I mean, that's brother. That's something that you can't take away is that connection that you have when everything sucks so much. There's like two types of people. Like you get called in on a Sunday because somebody that you never met got busted drinking and driving, and you're in a base wide all call and six reading standby. There's always one person complaining about how they had plans that day. And everybody's like, "Hey, did you hear that? Robbie had plans." Like none of us did, but that those guys that embrace the suck with you, it's just something that you have a bond with forever. So you appreciate and respect somebody else's ability to embrace the suck. You know.
Yeah. So how was your transition into civilian life?
Whew. So I had come off some. I was having a lot of. I was unaware of all the mental issues that I had going on and all the things that I was trying to figure out as a young adult that's now taken out of his like little pond. And now I don't know. For me, you don't have a home as much after you leave home the first time. Like wherever you're at's home, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to, you know, set up and be confident and make that place home and be okay. And I was never the best at being by myself. I was raised in a pretty big environment with a ton of family and a lot of support. So it was hurting a little bit for me. I was on my own. I went through a recently fresh divorce. I'd gotten out in a very unique fashion. I was planning on staying in and going pals chase and doing that. And then all of a sudden, I had a situation come up where it was time to get out. And that was sudden. And it was pretty hard on me. And that was another thing that kind of got me. Took a lot to be able to walk in front of people and hold my head up high about that. And I wasn't at the point yet. So I had lost basically what I felt like I had earned with a pretty spotless career. I mean, I had a spotless career until that point, and I had lost that pride at that point.
So, not having your friends, your support system around you. I'm going to take it you're not from Montana?
No, sir.
Okay. So you're in a different state, and as you said, it's very, very small. I mean, the town of Great Falls, to some states, it's a decent size. A lot of states, it's just another suburb.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Where are you from?
I'm from Streeter, Illinois.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so like maybe Chicago is like a 50,000 place is like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the big city of the entire region
Yep.
area. So you're in as what I'm getting to is that you're in a very non-populous place. As you said, it's like there's not a lot of support system, not
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people that maybe understand you. I mean, is it easier? Okay, so is it easier being in a city that hosts an Air Force base?
Actually, I think there's positives and negatives to every situation like that. At the time, I was starting to really like entwine with the locals, like my neighbors where I had my house, and all I kept constantly getting was, "Oh, you're an airman, you're a flyboy, a military guy." Like it's always like we were definitely separated in that sense. But if you were willing and able to go do Montana things, which I was, and I have been since I got here, I love it here. I mean, I love hunting and fishing, so it's actually a paradise, really. But if you were willing to do that and kind of like leave out your military career, uh, it seems like everybody had somebody. Everybody had somebody whose girlfriend was stolen by a guy on the base. So there's that little hostility usually. But after you break that barrier and you're people, we put our pants on the same way, we go fishing the same way, then it's a lot more welcoming than you'd think. But I have noticed that you definitely get a better welcoming from a town that doesn't have a base, where they don't have that constant interaction. But at the same time, I've never had a Veterans Day anywhere else in my life that you could go get free food all day anywhere, and people buy you a beer at the same time. It's hit or miss, to be honest with you. It goes both ways.
So, being a civilian, going to the civilian world and trying to find your way in the sector, how hard was it? What were some of the challenges that you? How lonely were you?
Oh,
What were some of the challenges in that?
going from 24/7 brotherhood to and sisters, it was uh, like unbearable. Like I've never felt so alone in my life. That's when I turned to drugs. I mean, that just to bond with the people that are around me. Like I almost took on this like mentality where when I was in the military, all I wanted to do was be Mister, like be a civilian, right? Like it's man, this sucks. Like I can't wait to make more money doing the same job or have more freedom, be able to go here if I want, be able to do whatever, smoke some weed. Well, little did I know how far that was going to take me, but it got because it got bad quick. I mean, so I was just trying to blend with other people and party and then provide because yeah, I had a lot of money. I had a lot of money saved up. My ex wife was in the military. We had deployments. We had stacked time to save up money. I remember at a point we were saving $1,600 a month, and that the bank, your bank account just got bigger and bigger. Now a lot of people, you don't make that much money, but it's they're going to issue you what you need, and if you decide to have a wife, they're going to issue you a bigger paycheck. So, everybody's on that race to get that, the separation pay and all that. So, I definitely did that.
What was Okay, so you fell into trouble.
Hmm?
What was? I mean, yeah, it's kind of a quick path because like I know some people is like they were really messed up for 10 years. Another dude's like 20 years,
Hmm.
and I mean it's not compare and contrast. I mean
Hmm.
there's never a compare. We all, as you said earlier, it's like we all have our stories, we all have our backgrounds, but that being said, you kind of you found your basements, and then you're bouncing up. So what were some of the you're talking about like okay, your new level. It's like okay, well that's my new basement. Well
Hmm.
then follow again. What were some of those instances that that you felt that you found yourself? It's like what is this?
So I'd recently, when I recently gotten out, and I was alone, and I was looking for, I was just wanting like my family's like help, like, and my family was trying to teach me how to grow up and be a man, handle stuff, the problems that I've caused on my own. So the first one was I found myself in a situation where to do crystal meth, and then little did I know before I knew it, I'm an addict. I mean, it's hard to not want that. I mean, it's almost like an adrenaline thing for me, like in the military, like being in Tech P or being even structures, deploying in structures, like it, or going out with the guys. Like it's just it's an adrenaline fix. Like like I wasn't gonna jump out of an airplane, as a civilian. That's why you join the military to do cool stuff, like things that you're afraid of. That it's a lot easier to do when there's 10 guys behind you and you're going. Like that's something I didn't get to do with that, but that was always the goal, right? To go do that. So I, yeah, I'm on crystal meth. I'm alone in Montana, and I know this ain't me. Like I need to get out of here. So I pack up and I go head home. When I get home, I ran into a girl I used to hang out with in high school, and uh, I think I had some pain. I brought back a garbage bag full of pain pills from the military. Gave me. I had like 300 prescriptions to pain pills, and I brought them home. I never forget my dad's face when he looked at that bag. He was pissed. He was like his military, because he was military. He's like, my military wouldn't do that. That's not right. No wonder you're just doing crystal meth because you just had so many pain pill prescriptions that you're used to not feeling anything. And so I shared some of those with her, and 2 days later, I did heroin for the first time. Now I'm stuck on heroin, and it was bad. I had screwed up. This is where I started to really screw everything up. I had a good job at the railroad. I had a good job at an Elway specialty metal fabrication company. I had another good job bartending that making like $300 tips a night, and all those jobs because of drugs. I mean, I was being a class A dirtbag. My dad's working overtime, double shifts, 12-hour shifts, and working overtime. And I'm sleeping upstairs in the room that I grew up in after I had already had two of my own houses, a wife, been around the world, and then now I'm back home in the bedroom I grew up in, and I'm hiding a drug addiction from everybody I know, and it's lonely. I mean, you know, talk about lonely, like it gets bad.
What was okay? So you got addicted to crystal meth and excuse me, and heroin.
Mhm.
Was it was it because of the pain pills? Was it loneliness? What would you attribute it to?
All of it. Oh, my addiction came from, you know, being lonely and being hung up on not accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish when I set out from my little town of 13,000 people, you know, to go see the world and do everything I wanted to do. It just fell apart. And yeah, and now I'm lonely and I just felt I had no integrity left, or not necessarily integrity, I didn't have any respect left for myself. So,
And okay, so and it all stemmed from getting hurt.
mm-hmm.
And you said that they could have, they you know, you could have been usable,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, I mean, you know, deployable. What was um, what was the injury, and how did I mean,
It was,
how could they have made it better? How could it have been a positive situation?
well, they can't. You can't. So here's the truth. You can't go and be a asset to somebody. And there's people that have been in my situation where they've been told they can't, but they could. But in those situations, those people need to have the guy next to them 100%. And you know what? The truth is I didn't need to be there because I already apparently had too many mental health issues going on where, you know, there's no room for insecurity or anything like that in a foxhole. So, you know, like that's the guys there. I mean, the guys that do that kind of job, they're top, you know, the best of the best. And that's at that point you got to accept that you're not going to get to do that. It's not the plan. Doesn't mean that's what this whole journey has taught me, that you have to completely find where you're supposed to be. And it's sometimes where you're supposed to be is right where you're at. And how you want to go from there is up to your character. That's what really defines you at that point, like who you are. And I've had my, you know, my valleys, and you know, then I've been at the top of the mountain a few times too now, and I don't wish anybody else has to go through what I had to go through to get here, but I am thankful because I'm a much more appreciative, much more grateful, much more caring, and motivated individual now. And sometimes I wish I had that 19-year-old motivation and the energy, but it's not. That's like the difference between grown man strength at that point. I mean, you could be high school tough, football tough, but grown man strength is still another thing. So I feel like I finally have gotten to that point where I'm a man. Like I'm an adult. I'm a good father. I'm a good son. I'm a good neighbor. I'm a good worker, employee. So
Everything that your dad expected out of you.
yeah, we're. It's funny how you get the respect that you want. I mean, it's nuts. Our relationship is so much better. And all he wanted was me to just, you know, be a man, take care of business. So it didn't matter. You didn't have to be the best. You didn't have to be the fastest. You didn't have to be in combat. You didn't have to do any of that. You just needed to give yourself an opportunity to do what you're supposed to do. And I capitalized on that finally.
Very nice. So when you were okay, if I may, what was the injury that you got, and how did it happen?
My injuries were my injuries came from rucking. We had to do a lot of rucking and TACP, and basically my L3 and L4 was the first one, and they had compressed and started grinding, and the disc started wearing out. At that point, this pain started happening, and then I raised my hand like, "Hey, I got this pain," and then at that point they started looking into it, and yep, you do. And then I found out it was L3, L4, S1, S2 as well. That's also in your lower back, and then yeah.
How is it now?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible.
What is your experience with the VA or the hospital in general with your back?
So when I got out, like I said, I didn't want to be known in the military anymore, which is funny because the only thing I ever did, I found myself at the store saying to some random cashier, like, "Oh, I'm a veteran." Like it's the identity crisis, really. But I didn't do anything because all I was doing was self-medicating the entire time since I got out. And after I got in trouble and went through the situation I had to go through, I now got put in Veterans Court, and Veterans Court made me go. So that's the craziest part, is how much, like, I was sitting there feeling sorry for myself the whole time, and like trying to separate my identity, and all I wanted to do was be back in the military. but then I'm separating myself and not going and doing anything or taking. I'm not doing any of the work necessary to go find the help that I need because I'm stubborn, I have too much pride, and I'm a dumbass at the time. So because I didn't even try, and vet court made me go try, and then it's like I'm humbled by all of the help that's there for you. Like, it's incredible how much is there. So for anybody that doesn't like feels like they're alone or anything, it's there. You just gotta go.
Well, okay, so what was the straw that is like, okay, you're going, this is where you're going, this is your program, this is your last chance.
I've been in the hole for the whole time I was in jail. So they put us on what they called 7215s. So for every 3 days, you get to come out of your cell for 15 minutes to take a shower. And we're like that for 50 days. I'm already used to it, so not a big deal. I go to my sentencing where I'm supposed to get out. I'm waiting, and you can imagine when you're anticipating, like, to get out, like how much like time slows down to before that moment. And it had already done that to me when I thought I was going to get out the first time. It had done that when I finally realized that nobody's coming to bail me out. Like, I'm in here. Like, I'm here. Like, there's a time I accepted I'm going to prison. And so now I'm going to sentencing. And the judge says, I can't stand you. And it's disgusting what you threatened. And he says, resentencing in 45 days. Longest 45 days ever, because I'm going to go back to a pod in 7215s. And about 3 days before the 45 days ran up, they let us out to population like it's normal. And I just prayed. Oh, there was also a scabies outbreak at the time in the jail. Everybody. And yeah, it was hell. We couldn't have books. We couldn't have pictures. We couldn't have food. We couldn't have anything. We couldn't come out. So now we're out. For the last 2-3 days I'm in there. And at the time I'm thinking I'm going to be right. I'm just going to go get sentenced. And then they're going to come. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to be waiting to be shipped out to prison. So at the sentencing, the judge was Mr. Ramon. I'll never forget. I couldn't even say my name right. Mr. Ramon, I've made it no secret that I cannot stand this. I'm looking at my lawyer, and then the prosecution starts talking. They're like, Your Honor, I want to be clear. It doesn't never say that he did anything, and we do not. He's proven that he should go to vet court. If anybody was made for vet court, it's for him. He's like, I don't think that's harsh enough, which I think is funny now because vet court is so much harder than going to a program to a fake rehab and then coming out in 10 days or in 10 months. Like, vet court is so much harder, and you know what? It's so much better. It works. It's built to work. Going to jail doesn't make you rehabilitate you. Going to jail makes you a better criminal. Going to treatment court makes you learn how to live and face the problems and the issues and the mental health. It makes you accountable. It reinstills those core values that you have. So I get released to back to civilian life, back into the real world. And I tried doing good for a couple of days, and I did for like 2 weeks, and then I was hurting. And she was getting to see my daughter every day because her mom had her kid. And they break rules. Like, my parents would have followed the rules. Like, no, they don't. They only get to see her at CPS. So I get to watch these pictures on Facebook, and I get 1 hour a week. And when I walked in there the first time, she didn't even know who I was. And that was, it took me 40 minutes to get her to stop crying out of the hour. And yeah, it sucked. I didn't have a home. I didn't have clothes. I didn't have shoes. Like, I had what I was wearing and socks. Like when I got out, and I walked all the way down through town from the airport. I was supposed to go to the homeless shelter, but I wouldn't go. My pride was like, I've done all this shit. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to the homeless shelter. Didn't know about the Grace Home at the time, and then I heard about it. And again, it was the homeless shelter. I don't know why it was the last thing. Like, I didn't want to do it. So, I basically went to court, and I went to my P test. I didn't go to any groups. I didn't do anything else besides go to Ralph, my counselor at the vet center. And came the day that he was like, listen, and I went to every single, hour I got a week with my daughter. And by the second, third time, my daughter and me were like, back to normal. And I was bringing my guitar and playing a guitar for her, and I bought her, I'd gotten stuff for her, like I had brought like a diaper bag and got her food and toys, and uh, all of a sudden CPS was warming up to me, but I'm failing every piss test, every single drug test, I'm failing them all, and because I was broke because I knew I was going to I was never going to get her back, and like I felt like it was torture. So I stood on the bridge one night and I was like gonna jump, and then I was like, I'm not coming to survive. Like I went to water school, like I'm gonna be fine. So I was gonna kill myself. So I came up with an idea, and it hit me like just go do some drugs one more time. Probably the only time it ever helped something for me, because I did. I went and got high, and then I was like, I'm just gonna wait till tomorrow to do it. Then I had a meeting with Ralph. Ralph was at his breaking point as my counselor to tell me that he basically let me have it and told me I'm untreatable and I'm a selfish asshole. And I'm like, excuse me? And he's like, you're a selfish father. And that was it. So at that point, I kind of, instead of like my normal like routine to argue back and say like, no, I'm not self. You don't know. I just told him, I said, I'm not going to get her back, Ralph. And he goes, yeah, you can. And I'm like, oh, you man to man, vet to vet, counselor to counselee, human to human. You're telling me I can get my daughter back? He's like, absolutely. And I'm like, well, you're going to send me to treatment now, and I'm going to be even further away, And he goes, yeah, you're going to have to send you to treatment. And I said, well, I'll make you a deal. If you're telling me the truth, I can get her back. Don't send me to treatment. Just in 2 weeks, if I can pee clean, we'll just start over. Start over from that point. I'll prove it to you. And I'm like, I know talk doesn't mean anything right now. Like actions, the only thing it's going to show you. But I, my word. He said, okay. 2 weeks later, went to go pee clean. They sent me to jail. They pulled me out of the graduation and said, you're kicked out of vet court. So you want to talk about as bad as it was the first time going to jail. Second time was my fault. Like I had blown a chance to get my daughter back. And that sucked. So I'm in jail, and I'm hurting so bad. Day 14 comes, and my lawyer from vet court shows up, and he's like, how's it going? I'm like, good, what's going on? He's like, Judge Pinsky said, are you ready? And I'm like, yeah, like, it's right. I mean, yeah, absolutely, whatever I have to do. And he goes, well, I can't take you out today because I have to have you sign this piece of paper, and I did print it, and I have court tomorrow. And I'm like, well, that sucks. I'm like, so I don't think he's going to show back up. Like, I'm doubtful. But 16th day, he comes. I'm back. Day 101 of Veterans Court. And I didn't miss, I didn't do any, I had a perfect program after that. I went to 12 groups a week, and I only had to go to 3 until they told me not to. And then I got a job. I got a house. I went from not being homeless to have my own apartment, thanks to the VOA, Volunteers of America. Tori, she's a saint. I entered their work rehabilitation program, where they would actually pay like an employer half of my wages so they would accept a felon, but I didn't need it. I got it on myself at my company I work at. And then my counselors told me to stop going to so many groups and just keep doing what you're doing. Just, but you're doing great. Like, cause I was the untreatable wreck that they had given a chance to, like, and I blew it, but now I'm doing it. So that everyone was very, just like little success was big success for me, like in their eyes. At that point, I just maintained doing everything he asked, because the counseling, the groups, the amount of compassion that this guy, it's not even a veteran, the heck has for like vets, it's crazy, because nobody else would have gave me a chance. And that's what the crazy part is about Veterans Court, is that they don't really discriminate against anything. It could be any reason that came into the program, as long as it's not like violent or like you weren't selling drugs, you can get into vet court here. And if you've never been in trouble, and I've never been in trouble, and like in my case, it's not everybody's case that they didn't do what they did that, but that court helped me realize that I wasn't guilty of that. I was guilty though. I was guilty of being a selfish father. My daughter didn't deserve to have a drug addict father. She did. I might have been a little bit different than other drug addicts where I'm attentive and I pay attention. I still pay, like, she's still my priority, but no matter what, you can't give somebody your all or do your best if you're on drugs. And that's where I was at. And vet court helped me realize that I can be happy about what I did accomplish in the military. Doubling capacity size of a base, to support 323 ADA for the Patriot missile system, keeping people safe. Like, it's okay that I'm not, combat hero, but I did my part. And I would never have been able to find those root problems without vet court and being able to talk it through it and see that everything, like, you don't have a drug problem. You have for me, I had a Kyle problem, and I didn't even know what it was from until I could put that in, like, perspective, that I had insecurities and I had basically, what's it called? Abandonment issues. And that's where all my insecurities, that's where all the mental, like, torture that I put on myself from the military of not accomplishing what I thought I had to be. It's like, I put a grade requirement on myself that wasn't even real. And I think that's where Judge Pinsky realized something before most people did, that you can't send somebody to jail and rehabilitate them. They're going to come back out where they were. But if you work with them and you take the time, I mean, you can realize that there's so many invisible wounds that people don't have from that were in combat, that they still have wounds from the military. If you're in the military, you signed a dotted line to, put yourself through a lot of torture, put yourself through a lot of hard times and not be selfish and to be part of something that's bigger than you. So that's where, that it's just amazing that he could understand that and not have served. So,
what were some of the programs that you went through, and what did you do, or what?
I went through moral recognition therapy, MRT, CRT, cognitive recognition therapy. I went through complete, full year of anger management. I went through. I like to go to the Vietnam group and listen. That was, like, I learned more there because I just like to go and listen. Like, because these guys are the ones that, like, when I came back from a deployment, I'll never forget coming in the airport. It was like parade. I mean, 4,000 or 5,000 people just lined up, flags, streamers, confetti, throwing stuff to you. It's a humbling moment because, like, all I could think about was, like, Vietnam vets, not, like, getting called a baby killer. Or, those guys, they built the Grace home, like, themselves, like, guys in that group. And those guys came to my court for CPS. Like, if it wasn't for vet court, I would never went to the vet center, and the vet center wouldn't have given me, like, a family here, like a support system, because it was just me. Judge Pinsky said that to me one time. He goes, "It's not just you and meth anymore, Kyle." So, yeah, it was pretty cool because I never thought that they cared about me after I got in trouble and got out.
So it was, all the culmination of getting into prison or jail, not prison, almost prison, but jail, was just the thinking that you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I just never. I don't wish that upon anybody to feel that alone. Like, and you have an identity crisis when you come out of the military. I don't care if you loved it or you didn't like it while you're in. Especially, like, somebody. I mean, everybody. There's different scenarios all around the board. People have retired. And now that's all you've known, and now you're in a civilian life. I've faced my own challenges at work. I earned that. Like, I had a good career. I mean, I have the didn't get caught ribbon, the Air Force Good Conduct ribbon. So, I mean, it takes you a little while to get that. But I have a pretty impressive career, and I accomplished a lot of things. And then I stopped focusing on the things I failed and came up short with, and I started focusing on what I could achieve, because nobody's gonna sit there and get me out of my parents' house when I was being a drug addict. Like nobody was gonna do anything for me. I had to go through all of this, and unfortunately for me and for people who love me, I'm a knucklehead sometimes, and it takes a long time. But yeah, nobody could want me to get sober. I wasn't getting sober for anybody else. It was the moment where I'd had enough. I'd overdosed. I'd lost jobs. I'd lost my family. I had lost my daughter. I had went to jail. I went back to jail. It wasn't enough until the words that I was a selfish father, and I don't want to be known as that, and I'm not. But I was acting like one. So.
Impossible question.
Okay.
22 allegedly a day, is the rate, right?
No.
You contemplated, you had a plan, two plans.
Yep.
But it's like, oh, you know what, I'm just going to wait till this, I have to do this. It's like, oh, wait, I got to do this. Others, it's a rate because others aren't choosing to wait.
Yeah.
So how do we get into quickening the pace of them hitting that basement or realizing that there is hope? Because, it's like, if it wasn't for, Judge Pinsky, you wouldn't have hope.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So how do we get into what's your theory, what's your belief? How do we get into giving hope? And it's like, okay, before they actually go through the act.
I have a perfect answer for that. Now, there's a lot to that question, but with my opinion, I think that TAPS, the Transitional Assistance Program, that when you leave the military, needs to be reconfigured to instill or to inform people about the Veterans Center. I think the one thing I kept hearing when I was getting out was that I think you should take a vacation, take a minute to readjust and reacclimate to civilian life. I think it should be just like what we do in basic training when we go to tech school. You go from a plan. You're phase 1, day 1. You don't get to wear civilian clothes right away. Now we can't go that hardcore because you're getting out and we don't have it's not like they're going to hold your hand and walk you through it. But I think that we should make it a bigger priority to let veterans know that the vet center. I've never heard of the vet center. Now since that I went through TAPS, now I've been to the vet center and I know the guy who goes there, and I think that's important. So I believe that we need to. The men and women that have your predecessors that have already went through that need to step up and be there at the gate to help people. I mean, it's a lonely feeling. Not everybody has a family. Not everybody has a wife or kids, and not everybody's gonna have them if they do later. So being there for everybody and letting them know that like these programs exist and being like suicide, we have suicide awareness and prevention training. Well, why don't we actually do it by being there? So I just think telling your story, sharing, like it's not comfortable for me to tell people my weakest and most vulnerable moments. I'm not in my DNA to want to show that, but I owe it to people that gave me a chance. So, because I was as hopeless as it gets, and I got a second chance, and when I got that, so far I've capitalized, and I just am so grateful.
So you were saying that there needs to be a catch, somebody that is like going on vacation, stop. So with you, living here outside of Malmstrom and hiring whatever all the vets you possibly can, is that your catch?
Yes. So the reason I started the company with my partner, who's also a vet court graduate, is because I just want to be able to help people that are in the worst spot that I've ever been in. I'm familiar with that spot. Be able to have that chance to create something new, to recreate something that they once had, and that's that confidence and ability to see that I'm part of something and I can be an asset. Because a lot of people don't want to be drug addicts. A lot of people don't want to be in trouble with the law. A lot of people don't want to have an alcohol problem, and they don't want to kill themselves. In fact, they probably reach out multiple times before that. I know I did. But when no one answers the phone, it's pretty lonely. So the reason that me and my partner wanted to make sure that our business was veteran owned and operated, and that's not to exclude anybody. We have, the people that work for us too. Some aren't veterans, but they have family members that are veterans. And I feel like that community and that experience and that lifestyle really brings like a bond and certain traits that we definitely find more common in other brothers or sisters that have served. Like, for example, when you have a veteran that's worked, he might still be a human. He's gonna have flaws, or she's gonna have flaws, but what you can do is get him motivated. So if I know this, if anybody would have came to me those days when I was about to kill myself and presented me with something to feel like I was needed or wanted, that would have motivated me. And you can motivate people in a lot of different ways. And the way I personally feel like I get motivated is give me something to accomplish. And once I accomplish it, I feel like I was worth it. I had value. So when I see some of the values that I got from Judge Pinsky, like making me look at him again, like one of my assets is I'm willing to do anything as part of a team. And once I have a group of people and I get everybody's focus on one goal, I will play any role I need to make sure everybody gets there. Like, I think it's called synergy. It's how we learn. And I love it when a plan comes together. Like, it's nothing better than that, you know? So I miss that about the military. That's what was fun, is like we could all focus on one thing, you know? And there's a million things going on in that environment, in that ecosystem. We all have our own lives, but you can put all that to the side and just focus on one thing. And when you get people to focus on one thing, it's powerful. And I personally love working with veterans because every veteran has a story and has, you know, they've been around the world and they have something that's unique. No matter what, we're all so part of, like, you know, they say like, you're just a number, or you're just something, but that's not true. Like, it is true in a sense too. You're all a number, but all those numbers have to be there to, you know, be part of that team. And that's what I love about the military, is like I've always felt like being part of the team was like the attraction for me. So
beautiful. Are you okay? So the vets that you're helping, are they kind of like there's no other hope? I mean, how are you? Do you see health and healing and growth, and or is it just another, you know, person who's like, you know, been 20 years out, 10 years out, and it's like just, you know, look, you know, needing a job in these, you know, economic times?
We've ran into all kinds of scenarios with different veterans in different places in their lives and in their stories. We've had a lot that are pretty much at some of the weakest moments. We started off by hiring people at the Grace Home, and that's the veterans homeless shelter. And some have worked, some haven't. But no matter what, you know, like I don't look at it as like it's not over yet. They just might not be at that part of the story yet for them. And there's a big responsibility for your own self-responsibility that you have to have for where you're at in your story. Like, I can't want it for them, but what I can do is I can want them to know that I'm here and that I've been there, and that if you're willing to come, you know, do some work, we'll go PT it out. You know, we'll if you need me to just sit there and be by you for now, that's what you need. I'll be there. If you need me to come and be up your ass and motivate you that way, that's what I'll do. But it really isn't. I don't think there's really a straight answer to that question. It's more, some people just need somebody to want them around, and they might. I've had some veterans, they don't want you, or they act like they're like, get away from me, but 3 months down the road, I know that's what they needed. And I've been like that. I find myself pushing people away constantly, and I think that's something that most veterans do, because it's not you're not broken down and rebuilt into somebody who's gonna need to ask somebody for directions. You're gonna, you know, like, we get kind of stubborn. So I've definitely figured that one out multiple times. That's being willing to ask for help. And if someone's not there to the point where they can ask for help yet, I just want them to know that there's still help, and there's still hope, because I mean, multiple VOA, Vet Center, Veterans Treatment Court. I mean, multiple things. It's crazy how many organizations that are out there for you. The Red Cross came to my rescue at one point. It's just crazy that if you get rid of the ego and allow yourself to be vulnerable and ask for help, you don't have to go down that path, and you can still have a great life. I I was at a point I don't think there was anything to ever be happy about again in my life. Now I wake up every day happy. So, I mean, there's still have ups and downs, but I have rebuilt that like foundation where I know it's okay. I know if today sucks, tomorrow's gonna be better. I know I can suck less and do better every day. That's my goal. I wake up and I tell myself, suck less and do better today, and that gets me through. So
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, final question, and it's not always roses, you know, but in the military. But God, man, it's like looking back, it's like some of the funniest shit ever happened. So, what are some funny moments? What are some, whether it was a training thing, it's like what, because like there's only some things that can only be seen in the military. So, what are
oof. Oh.
people pranking?
Okay, so this, there's this airman. So the story was when I came back from my deployment, went on R&R, that he was pretty unique, brand new airman, and very brand new to being an adult. Supposedly he had asked how to make microwave popcorn. So when we got back, I had put a number on the desk saying that Major Storm had called, and he needs you to call this number back, and it was to the weather station. And so he was asking for Major Storm, if Major Storm was there. And then the next day I put, what was it? What is it? Colonel Sanders, and I had the number to KFC written down. So he was calling, and he was arguing, and the people at KFC were doing a great job by playing with it. Like, they had picked up on it. So he's like, this is Airman Evans reporting for duties. Is Colonel Sanders there? And can I talk to him? and they were like, no, Colonel's not here right now. You're going to have to call back in like 5 minutes, though. And that was one of my favorite little jokes that I felt kind of mean for later. Those are the ones I'm willing to share, at least. So...
with the approach to everything with the podcast and the documentary is that even though we do talk about the deep, dark, and depressive and the suicidal thoughts, we really, 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 push that there is hope, because there is hope, and that's the power of community, So no matter where you are in the country, we can relate, and those that relate, that's community, right? And so thank you, Kyle, for being a part. And I thank you for watching and being a part. And I am looking forward to hearing what you think and seeing what we can do moving forward and helping our fellow brothers and sisters and getting them off the ledge and into life, because life is beautiful. And it's something to just go after, and we know how to go after things, right? Because like we're all hard charging, right? In our mind, we're still that high speed, low drag soldier, right? No matter what our body says. But anyway, thank you for joining.